Wonderful.
Coach, what have you guys been able to accomplish the first 5 days, and kind of what were you looking to get done these first 5 days?
Right. The main three things are just obviously grading and demanding great effort out of the guys. We want to be a culture where the effort is a premium, how hard we play, how physical we play, how fast we play. So effort is something every day we're making sure that we're demanding and rewarding. Then obviously execution of our schemes, whatever we're putting in, the execution's got to be elite from a fundamental standpoint, from an assignment standpoint. So that's a huge piece. We've got some different things going in here and there. So execution's elite. And then obviously the biggest thing is at the end of the day when you're playing football on defense is the finishing moments, the times you have an opportunity to make a play, make the tackle, win the coverage rep, win your pass rush rep, take the ball away. So, those three things are honestly what we're hammering every single day as we're trying to build this thing one day at a time.
How's that last one going, that component of the finishing? What some people might call playmaking. How are the finishing?
I would say it's like everything, it's a work in progress, but it's something that, we want to measure it and then reward it. So we're doing a good job. Our staff is doing a good job of making sure that, when the player does make the play, he's given an attaboy for that, but then when he doesn't, we want to coach him how to make the play and put himself in a better position. Because at the end of the day, when these games, all these close games and high-level football, whether you're in the NFL or in a big-time college football, they're going to come down to the last possession of the game. You've got to train yourself to win in those moments. So every single day, every time we meet with them, every time we practice them, we're trying to harp on that as well as the other two things.
Use charts to keep track?
Yes. Yeah, when you say measure it, you're actually charting whether or not they won their rep in coverage, whether or not they affected the ball, whether or not they made the play. And then it's sent to them so they see it and they understand that we are measuring it, and then we're rewarding it because the more plays you make, the more you make your way up the depth chart. So
for you, how has the progression gone in having 4 new assistant coaches who are new to the program this year and then 5, including yourself, who are in new spots? What's that been like?
I think it's been awesome. It's been, kind of an unbelievable growth opportunity for me. Obviously, we have great direction with Matt, experienced head coach, provides a clear vision on exactly what he wants everything to look like on offense, defense, and special teams. So I follow his lead in that regard. Great confidant, in Phil Snow. That relationship's been awesome for me. We spend a lot of time just talking football, talking philosophy, talking, just things that are on my mind. So that's been great. And then obviously all the coaches that we added, whether it's a different position or a new coach, they're hungry to follow the lead of coach and then obviously follow my lead. So it's been great. A lot of energy, a lot of appreciation of those guys for being here, and they're doing their best to get us better one day at a time. I'm sorry.
How would you characterize Snow's role? How do you want it to be?
I want it to be is to help us and help our players in every single possible way that he can. And for me and for all of us to be open to any opportunity he can provide to make us better, make me better, make our team better. He's out there coaching up freshman DBs, coaching his ass off, having fun. I'm over there watching his drills. I coached DBs in the NFL for 10 years and coached them for 20 years in different levels, and I'm over there watching different guys do their drills, and I'm learning stuff. So that's part of the mindset that everybody has to have when we're all there together. It's like, okay, Matt provides the vision, I'm the leader of the room, but we're all on the same page trying to make this the best product we can for Nebraska football.
In your career, have you been part of a staff, college or the NFL, that had someone in a role like what Phil is doing right now?
I actually have. When I was with the Texans, Romeo Crennel was our defensive coordinator, and obviously an incredibly successful defensive coordinator in the NFL, and was our coordinator for a couple of years. And then he got moved to a senior defensive assistant role. And I think that you're a fool if you don't embrace that knowledge and that experience, whether it was him when we were with the Texans or obviously here now with Coach Snow. We all understand we're all focused on one thing, and that's to make Nebraska's defense and the black shirts as best as possible. So there's no egos in that room. It's all about getting better and improving.
You return Sear Wright at one of those corner spots. What does that other corner look like right now, as far as kind of the guys you're
I would say Sear's a returner, but he's competing for his job every single day. I think all the players that we have over there, really don't want to get into naming names. I know everybody's interested in what maybe the depth chart looks like and who's practicing, but I feel like we got really good competition. really at all positions in the secondary. I think that area has improved not only with another year of experience for the players that are returning, but also from some of the guys that we've added. I've been encouraged with those guys, and some of those players in that room have really grown in the finishing aspect, taking the ball away and making plays on the ball. So I'm excited about how that's going to shake out, but there's still plenty of time to determine really who's going to be out there anywhere.
Two other
Go ahead.
returners
Go ahead.
with Deshaun and Javen, and in the off or at the end of the season last year, you didn't really know if you were going to get them back, and you
Right.
got them both back. Just what has that been like, getting those two guys back? There's
Right. It's kind of like
response.
free agency in pro football, right? You're like, oh man, is that guy going to leave us? And then all of a sudden they decide to stay. Well, that's just an analogy, but it's similar in that you feel like you have two players that might have opportunities to go to another place, which would have been the NFL. And because of the culture and the program that Matt's kind of created and built, they want to stay here, which I think is an awesome testament to what's going on here right now, because you have an opportunity to go play in the NFL, which for most people, that is your dream. And both of them decided that they want to still be a part of this and help us build this thing on defense. And I'm obviously very excited that they're both back. They've both had very good springs. They've been good in the preseason with the strength and conditioning, good with our younger players, and spending time with them. So it's been awesome for us, and obviously we're very appreciative that they decided to do that.
Likewise, when you bring in one-year guys like McCullough and Watson Trent, I mean, they're here for 1 year, so they obviously want to maximize. How have you seen those guys sort of move into leadership roles and they got to produce right away?
Yeah, without really getting into too much detail on them because they're new, I would just say I think that we're very excited that they're here.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious. Last season, DB's coach, how has that experience in the Big Ten shaped how you're going to be doing things as a defensive coordinator?
That's a good question. I hadn't really ever thought about that. There was definitely some things that were different about coaching DBs just in general in the NFL to college. The number one thing, you're coaching men versus you're coaching younger men. I think Matt was helpful in that with transition with me, and like you really got to look at it like in college, you're really still training them to how to play, where in the NFL you're really coaching them. That was a good learning point for me to kind of like that I picked up from him saying, and I do believe that. So I think that it's just, they're just not as experienced. That's all it is. So you're just trying to provide as much experience and as much exposure to the things that they're going to see, and that's why it's so important to get practice and have walkthroughs and have meetings, because that's how you develop them in that regard with every single day. So I would say that would be the biggest thing. And then there was definitely some schematic things offensively that obviously because of the way the field's not shaped, but the hash marks and things like that, and the numbers, that the design of some of the offensive stuff was just something that you took time adapting to. But I've always been able to kind of adjust and figure things out fairly quickly. So hopefully we can keep working in that direction.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious, with Mike Eckler with special teams, when he's not doing the special teams, is he someone that helps you at all with the defense, or does he strictly stay special teams?
I don't really know how to answer that question. I'd rather. Okay. Yeah, Mike's the special teams coordinator, and he's doing an awesome job. I go to every one of his meetings. I mean, they're phenomenal. I think we're gonna have a great special teams unit, but he's the special teams coordinator.
With Deshaun Singleton, Coach Rule had mentioned he may have been moving around a little bit. Just where have you been looking at him at, and what do you like about Deshaun's skill set?
Yeah, Deshaun is definitely a guy that we're looking at in multiple roles. We love players that, I personally love them, and I think we all do. Love players that have versatility, that can play multiple spots, and that way you don't have to sub everybody to fill, different positions. But, I think that was one of the things that appealed to him in coming back, was the role that we were going to use him in, maybe an expanded role where last year he played the safety position. And now moving forward, we're going to do our best to, use all of our players towards their skill set. When we recruit you and sign you, we're going to use you for what you are, and then it's our responsibility to develop you into what we want you to be and how you could use and be used in this system. So you can't pigeonhole players, but you got to have, the more versatile pieces you have, I think it's better for your defensive unit.
Coach, you mentioned that having those new guys on the staff is you called it an unbelievable growth opportunity for yourself. Can you expand on that? Why is that?
Well, you get guys from so many different places. Like Terry he's with the Chiefs for 8 years. All they've done is won. And unfortunately, multiple times they beat me in the playoff game. So I have to respect that, and he brings an unbelievable amount of experience in that winning culture. Obviously, Phil Simpson has a great background with not only within Phil played for Matt, so he can provide some insight there. Rob's been around and has played for Matt. Addison has a great amount of experience, and obviously, as a DB guy, you always kind of, I don't want to say you talk more to him, but like we have common things. So there's a lot of things we're constantly talking about how he did things and how maybe I want to do things and how we can maybe meet in the middle. And then obviously with Snow, guy's been coaching 100 years, so every experience that he's had in building different defenses and how years have been different, and obviously all of his great input on working with Matt for so many years. I've only been around Matt for nine months ish, and I've loved my time here. But there's still a lot of things I got to learn and figure out. So I got to lean on him to maybe help me in that regard.
Snow had mentioned in a previous press conference that you guys were going to advance the third down and red zone defensive packages. I'm not asking what that advancement is, but more the process of is that something you install right away, or do you try to get some of the basics down before you go to some of the more exotic and differentiating things?
Yeah, it's a process. Initially, when you start going with spring football, it's usually first and second down, base fundamental defense, really emphasizing the things I talked about, the effort, the execution and finish, and the fundamental aspects of that. But as you're starting to progress, like right now, we're starting to kind of just introduce some of our third down and 2 minute, and there'll be some things that are schemes that everybody does, and then there's going to be some stuff that that we use a lot in other places I've been, let's just say. And then obviously that's where you lean on some of the experience of the other coaches. The Chiefs had a great third down package under Spags. Phil's had a great third down package, and at the end of the day, that's part of the winning moments. First and second down, every down's important, but the money downs are third down and then stopping people in the red zone. If you look at our bowl game, we might have given up some yards here and there. We played great in the red zone. And that was the key. So I believe in that, and I think you've got to do a good job of in those situational areas, third down, red zone, and 2 minute, if you're gonna win football games that matter.
What do you envision is the personality or the style of the defense that you want this team to play on third down?
You've got to affect the quarterback. He's the guy that has the ball, and he's the one who's making the decisions. And maybe here at the college level, you got to affect the quarterback and the play caller, but you got to make it as hard as possible on the quarterback as you can. Affect him with what you're doing coverage-wise, affect him with what you're doing rush-wise, and be multiple enough that you're not predictable, but simple enough that you're not going to screw it up. So at the end of the day, that's really what our philosophy schematically is overall. But on third down, it's really comes down to affecting the quarterback and the operation of the offense through whatever you're choosing to do.
It sounded like Judy was maybe coming up here. How have you seen him grow?
Coming up, what do you
Elijah,
mean?
to speak, I'm sorry.
Oh, to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just how have you seen him grow as a player, and how do you see that defensive line kind of feeding off the opportunity they have?
Yeah, obviously Judy made. We're very happy about his decision to come back, and I would just comment that he's had a very good 5 days of spring. He's got to keep getting better, and obviously everybody understands that we lost a lot of experience on the defensive line last year with those guys, and those guys are going to all go and have good careers in the NFL. But that's part of building the program, is you have to rebuild in areas of need, and obviously we all believe that you have to have a great defensive line to have a good defense, and I feel like we got some good young players there. The coaching's getting it better, and I think by the time it needs to be, we'll have it looking exactly the way we want it to.
Following up on that, and I know it's early, is there anybody on the defensive line who's started to separate themselves from the pack for a starting job?
Yeah, I'm again, as it related to the question about the secondary, I'm going to kind of stay away from just kind of signaling out individuals, but I am very excited about how they've been going. We go 9-on-7 every day, we go team, and there's a lot of reps to be graded and a lot of reps to be used to create tools of improvement. And I would say that area as a collective is really coming on, and I think they embrace the challenge that's at hand right in front of them. And whether it's the guys that we just brought in or whether it's guys that've been here, I think, like I said, I think we're going to be fine there when the time comes.
You talk about player development, just personally, what's that feeling for you as a coach when you see a player take that next step, just improve and take the things that you're teaching them and make themselves better?
Ultimately, I think it's the reason why you do it, It's a pretty cool thing to see guys get better, because you know, whether you're in the NFL or you're in college, like they put so much time into this, and we all sacrifice so much to be and do what we do, whether you're a college football coach, a pro football coach, college player, or a pro player. It requires so much time. It requires so much sacrifice. And I know it's a game, but at the end of the day, like when you see players develop like we did in Buffalo for the 6 years I was there, and then like using an example of, we had a kid last year, Donnie Jones, that didn't play a whole lot during the season, and he just kept getting better and better and better and better and better, and he played 50-something plays in a bowl game because he was ready to play at that time. And now he needs to keep getting better. Not singling him out as an example, but when you see that growth, then it's your job to keep encouraging that growth, because then that feeds that hunger and that desire to keep getting better, because they start to see the fruits of their labor. They start to see that the work and the time that they're spending and the work and the time that you're investing in them is rewarding. And at the end of the day, then you start to see huge growth, because now they really start to believe that they can do it, and they start to believe that they are good enough, and they start to believe that they do belong, whatever level it is. So that's one of the coolest things about my career, and I get no bigger satisfaction than when I get a text, you know, Christian Benford just signed a $76 million contract with the Buffalo Bills. We drafted him in the 6th round at Villanova. So days like that, when you get text messages from kids like that, makes you feel pretty good about what you're doing, and makes you feel pretty good that you made the career decision that you did. So
Thanks, Coach.
thank you guys.